Hi guys, today I'm going to tell you how to cook a hearty meal. Okay, it's Paprikash, which is a Hungarian style dish with a lot of paprika, hence the name. And I'm going to cook it with something nice and cheap, plentifully available, really tasty, lamb's hearts. So what you're going to need? You're going to need some lamb's hearts. You can get them from Tesco. You should be able to get them from a good butcher. I'd normally go for about 1 heart per person. I've got 3 here, so this is going to do like 6 people's worth of food. You're also going to need a tin or 2 of tomatoes for the amount I'm doing. About 1½ onions. I've got red onions here, but you can use white, it doesn't really matter. About 4 or 5 cloves of garlic, or 1 giant one. 3 cloves of garlic should be fine. This is a giant clove of garlic again. As well as tinned tomatoes, some tomato puree, optional ingredient, some flour to coat it in, salt, pepper, olive oil, some red wine, a big pot to cook it in, and then a big knife to chop your veg with, and a little knife for trimming off the fat on the lamb. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is go and put your pan, if it's a big Le Creuset one, big cast iron one like this, on the hob, on kind of a low medium heat at first. Plug of olive oil, you can also use butter or lard in there. And then while that's warming up, it's time to chop your veg. So, with the onion, I'm just going to slice it, doesn't matter how you do it, you can dice it as well. Other things that you could put in this, I guess, would be stock. So you could use some either lamb or beef stock or chicken stock even. That'd be alright. But any kind of stock would work. And you'll notice that the paprika I've got 2 types. I've got smoked paprika and I've got the noble sweet paprika. Both are good. I like to use a mix, especially with lamb's heart, because lamb heart is a really powerful meat, so it can take the extra flavour of the smoked paprika. Now, heart, what it tastes like is it basically tastes like the animal it is. So, lamb's heart will taste a bit like lamb. Ox heart will taste a little bit like cow, or beef. So, it's fairly versatile. Don't worry about it. It doesn't taste awfully, but it does make an awfully good meal. So slice up the onions, because they're going to go in the pan first, to brown off with the garlic. Also, I seem to remember reading somewhere, I can't remember where, a long time ago, chopping the onions and then leaving them to react with the oxygen in the air. The chemicals react with the oxygen in the air, and it makes it actually slightly healthier, better for your health. So we're talking marginal gains. Look at that, it's giant. Never seen one so big. That's what she said. So again, my recommendation is you peel the veg over a bin, because it'd be much easier to deal with the mess. And then I'm going to roughly chop the garlic. Okay, when you've chopped the veg, you can go and put it by the pan, which should be about warm, and scrape it in there and just let that cook gently. And while that's gently simmering or gently cooking down, sweating down, time to prepare the hearts. This can get a bit messy. I'm going to roll the sleeves up. Nice, what I've got my little knife for, because one thing you can do, as you'll notice on the lamb's hearts, you've got the red stuff, which is the meat, and the white stuff is the fat. Now you might want to trim some of this fat off. I recommend you keep this because you can use it to cook with. Actually, you can use the fat to cook with. It's quite good. I'm going to add a little bit to the pot. Low heat, render it down. So you can keep it, put it to one side and keep it. What you can sometimes do is kind of peel the fat off, and it comes off with some of the membrane around it as well. So peel that fat off if you want. You don't have to, it's just how healthy you're being. If you're trying to cut back on your calories, your saturated fat, you can take that off and use it in another dish. Anything that you're frying, so if you're frying a steak, anything like that. So I wouldn't recommend doing this with beef heart because ox heart is massive, but one thing you can do with ox heart is cut it up into strips or get it pre-cut up into strips. It makes a great stir fry. You can also eat it like a steak, like a cheaper version of steak. When you're happy that you've trimmed off enough of the fat, the next step is we need to cut the hearts in half. So it doesn't really matter too much, but cut them down from the top to the bottom in half. When you've trimmed off the hearts as much as you want, you cut them in half. You're going to cut them from top down to the bottom, through the length of it. Which might be a little bit tricky with a little knife like this. I should have got a big knife for it. I think it's a bit sharper, but this will do. And then, when you've cut all the way through, you can help trim off any of the extra fat or the arteries / veins that are around. You can also, if you really want, have a little play and look at the valves. However, I'm going to leave those in. You can also use scissors to snip these out. I'll demonstrate that now. Pair of kitchen scissors. Just chop out the valves, chop out the arteries, the veins. When you chop them in half, you might hear about people saying things like rinse them, rinse the hearts. You don't need to do that. That's a good way of spreading any bacteria that might be on them around the room. We don't want to do that. But you can get your flour. It's about a handful, 2 handfuls of flour, a good pinch of sea salt and a good grind of pepper in there to season it. And just coat the heart halves in the flour, which will just help them get a nice colour when you cook them. This is an optional step, you don't have to do this, it's not going to affect the dish that much. You see lots of recipes calling for you to flour your meat beforehand. It's not really that big a deal, so don't sweat it. If you don't want to do this, if you can't get hold of the flour, which not a lot of people can at the moment in the UK, don't worry about that step. So when you've softened your onions and garlic, add in a little bit of colour to them, smells good. Just spoon them out temporarily into a bowl that you've got waiting. Then put it back on the heat, and you can add some more olive oil, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of the fat from the lamb, and I'm going to leave that to render down on a low heat for a little bit. That'll help improve the flavour, give it a really nice deep rich flavour. When that's done, you can get your lamb and put it in and brown it. Stirring it every now and then to make sure it gets browned on all sides, and we'll come back and have a look at that in a minute. So when the hearts are nicely browned on all sides, looking really good there. Next couple of steps, I'm going to add the onions and the garlic back in. All scraped in there, give it a little bit of a stir. Then we're going to get our paprika. So it doesn't matter which order, smoked paprika first. I'm going to add an entire tablespoon. A bit clumped up at the bottom, this one, to give it a bit of a tap on a surface. It should loosen it up. If that doesn't work too well, like it hasn't done this time, might have to get a teaspoon. Just loosen it up. So I think I added about half. Oh, it smells fantastic, that. So about a tablespoon of the smoked paprika and about a tablespoon of the sweet paprika. Rather a generous tablespoon. You can be really, really generous with the paprika. more is better, I think. Stir that all in, make sure it's all stirred up. Try not to flick your onion and garlic out of the pan. Then at this point, tin of tomatoes, add that in, and you can rinse that out either with stock or with some water. Thank you, wonderful assistant. And then add a splurge of tomato puree, probably about a tablespoon. I like tomato puree, I like tomatoes a lot, so I'm going to add quite a lot. And give that a stir. And if you want as well, you can always add a nice glug of red wine. About a glassful, half a glassful, however much you want to add, just to make it a bit more liquidy. You can also at this point add stock or add some water, so I might add a little bit of water to this because it's looking a little thick, these tomatoes. Turn the heat up. Thank you very much. Turn the heat up to bring it towards a boil. Then we're going to put the lid on and simmer it for several hours. You can also, if you want, if you've got any, add some bay leaves or some herbs like oregano, marjoram, things like that. Making sure to give it a stir. Then when it started to come to the boil, it started bubbling, lid on, low heat, leave it for about minimum of an hour, up to about 4, 5, 6 hours, cooking on low heat. Checking it occasionally, giving it a stir, seeing if it needs any more water. If it's looking a bit dry, just stick a little bit more water in. If it's looking too liquidy, don't worry too much about it. At the end you can leave the lid off, and you can even add some of the flour that you coated the meat in as well and stir that in. Alright, we'll come back and have a look at it when it's done. So after you've left it cooking all day, like I have, I've been out for a run, cleaned the flat, a few other things, it's time to serve up. So before you do serve it up, make sure you give it a good stir and give it a taste. I've already done this and I've already added some more paprika to it because that's what I felt it needed. The next step is to serve it up. And again, you can put a bowl, rice in the bowl. You can use plates as well because you can see it's a bit thicker this time. Rice, couscous, you can even have potato, boiled potato, mashed potato, anything like that. Some side veg, some greens. Just ladle it in, make sure you get a bit of meat or a couple of bits of meat. You can garnish it if you wish, and it's good to go. This meal is great, served for, you can do it as a special occasion for like a cheap date, especially if you chop up the heart into, instead of doing it halves, if you do it into quarters or eighths, so it's into smaller chunks, then no one will ever know. You can just tell them it's a Hearty Paprikash, and it's got really great flavour to it. So, delicious. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Take care, guys.